On today's episode of Notable New England, we kick things off with some Wicked Lite Bites, lighthearted and feel-good news stories from each New England state. Then we're going to talk about a selection of eats and treats New England is known for, but that don't get mentioned as much as some of the other popular food items the region is known for. It promises to be a nummy episode. Stay tuned. Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome back to Notable New England. I'm your host, Gretchen B. I hope everyone's doing well. You may notice I sound a little bit stuffy. I am coming off of a bout of bronchitis, but I am on the mend, and I am super grateful to my doctor for her help in getting me all sorted out. There's lots of respiratory stuff going on out there, so I just want to send healthy, healing wishes to all of my lovely listeners out there and hopes that you will stay well. Today's episode is going to be lots of fun. We're going to be talking about some of the foods that New England is known for, but that aren't well-known staples people are maybe used to hearing about from New England. Growing up here, we have our regional favorites, and it'll be interesting to see if you've tried some of the items. I'm sure you have, and some of them maybe you haven't. But first, let's get into Wicked Lite Bites, feel-good, lighthearted news stories from each New England state. Speaking of New England delicacies, Mainers, fear not. Your beloved red snapper hot dogs are not going away with the FDA ban on red 3 dye. If you hadn't heard, the FDA is going to be instituting a ban on red 3 dye due to increased risk for cancers as well as other health concerns. W.A. Bean & Sons in Bangor, Maine is the only wholesale hot dog company in Maine, and they've been around since 1860 and have been producing the red snapper hot dogs with the red 3 dye since 1938. W.A. Bean & Sons sales director Sean Smith said the company had been experimenting with a new formula for red snappers without the red 3 dye. He says, quote, "We didn't wait for the government to force our hands in this. We have not only been focusing on our red snapper, but the rest of our products as well. We do make a no-color hot dog that is completely dye-free, and we have a full line of all-natural sausages, breakfast sausages, and deli meats." The FDA ban on red 3 in food products officially goes into effect in January of 2027. W.A. Bean & Sons plans to phase red 3 out of their products by the end of 2025. And they want Mainers to rest assured that the flavor in their red snapper hot dogs will remain the same. Thank you to Talia Clark of WABI in Bangor, Maine for this story. Okay, how cool is this? First, I had no idea, but Taunton High School in Taunton, Mass. has an incredible and award-winning culinary arts program. What an amazing opportunity for the students. In some exciting news, the program was given a food truck as part of a $75,000 grant from Bristol County Savings Bank. The Tiger Truck, as it is known, is run by the students in the program and gives them the opportunity to learn how to operate and run a food truck. Everything from planning and executing menus, customer service, cleaning up, as well as everything involved in the business and financial side of things. Students recently provided lunch to the Bristol County Savings Bank team as a thank you, and some of the menu highlights include egg rolls with a blue cheese drizzle, loaded fries, and quesadillas, among other things. The truck plans to be present for many of the school's events as well as community events. And this story comes from Suzanne Sawsville of WBZ Radio 1030. Mohegan Sun is going to be hosting the Sun Wine and Food Fest from January 23rd through 26th. And the event is going to feature some famous chefs, as well as food and wine pairings and live cooking demonstrations. Some of the chefs who are going to be in attendance will be Tiffany Faison, Rocco DiSpirito, Jamie Bissonette, Esther Choi, and many others. And for more information on the festival and the events, you can visit mohegan-sun.com/sun-wine-and-food-fest. Don't worry about remembering that because I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes for your convenience. And this information came from the festival's website. And of course, that is based in Connecticut. Providence, Rhode Island is going to be launching its inaugural Food and Wine Festival in March this year. The festival dates are March 27th through the 30th and will feature the city's impressive culinary scene with guest chef dinners, exclusive tastings, food truck events, cooking classes, and wine experiences. Johnson & Wales University is going to be offering some cooking classes led by expert instructors as well. And there's going to be a marketplace and tasting event hosted by Hope in Maine, which will feature local producers and live music. Marianne Esposito, who is known for hosting PBS's Ciao Italia, will be at a fundraising event called Uncorking the Future, which is put on by Rhode Island PBS and the Public's Radio. For more information, you can visit gopvdeats.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well. Information for this story came from Ryan Belmore of What's Up Noop newsletter. Get ready for the 7th annual Story Ski at Mad River Glen in Stowe, Vermont on February 22nd. This event invites young skiers and their families to enjoy a reading of Wake Up Moon by Lita Judge as you ski through the Mad River Glen's woods. You'll follow the story page by page in a journey of the imagination. The event takes place from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., as I said, on February 22nd. And more information can be found at bit.ly/StorySki 2025, which I'll be sure to put in the show notes for you. This information comes from stowtoday.com. And make sure not to miss New Hampshire's ice castles in North Woodstock, New Hampshire. You can explore ice slides, caverns and archways, crawl tunnels, a mystic forest light walk, snow tubing, a winter fairy village, sleigh rides, and even a polar pub for the adults. So for more information, you can visit icecastles.com/new-Hampshire, which I'll link in the show notes for you. And this information comes from the Ice Castles website. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to dig into some of the treats and eats New England is known for. I bet you'll be hungry when we're finished and want to try some of them if you haven't already. Stay tuned. You're listening to Notable New England. Enjoy ad-free listening and early access to Notable New England, just two of the great perks available when you become a Patreon subscriber. Starting at only $2 a month, your support helps cover production costs and keeps unique New England stories coming straight to your ears. Visit patreon.com/Notable New England today to join our community. That's patreon.com/Notable New England. Your support means the world. Thank you. New England boasts a rich culinary heritage with iconic dishes like clam chowder, baked beans, Boston cream pie, fluffernutters, and more. I thought it would be interesting to put together a list of New England specialties that maybe you don't hear about as much as some of the popular ones. Some of them, obviously, you may know, others might surprise you, and it might make you discover something new to try. So let's celebrate the unique flavors that define our region. So have you ever had a Needham? Do you know what a Needham is? And no, I'm not talking about the town in Massachusetts. It's actually a Maine specialty, and it's a square candy that combines coconut, chocolate, sugar, and potato. Yep, Maine's major crop. It appears that the Needham originated around 1872 when a candy maker in Maine, Mr. Seavey, introduced it after a cook had him try it to see what he thought. So Mr. Seavey and others really liked it but didn't know what the heck to call it. So Mr. Seavey said, well, how about we call them Needhams after the popular preacher? George C. Needham was a preacher associated with the Clarendon Street Baptist Church in Boston. And with his wife, Elizabeth Annabel, they traveled around the eastern half of the United States denouncing Catholicism, promoting faith healing, and predicting there would be a second coming of Christ. Bangor Daily News food editor Brownie Schrumpf introduced a recipe for the candy in her weekly column. And in it, she said that it consisted of mashed potatoes, confectioner sugar, shredded coconut, vanilla extract, salt, and baking chocolate. I'll be sure to include the recipe in the show notes if you want to try making this. And I have personally seen Needhams sold at Rennie's in Maine, and I know many of the convenience stores will have them right at the register. And the Maine Needham Company is still making these candies today. Connecticut may be most known for its New Haven-style pizza, but have you ever had a steamed cheeseburger? I have not. There is some division on whether the steamed cheeseburger was invented at Jack's Lunch in Middletown, Connecticut, or if it originated from horse-drawn street cart vendors in Meriden, Connecticut, who sold steam-melted cheese sandwiches, and then later they would add meat to them. The steamed cheeseburger seemed to have originated in the 1890s, and today you can get a steamed cheeseburger at Ted's restaurant in Meriden, Connecticut. So the way these are made is that beef is packed into rectangular metal molds that get suspended in stainless steel boxes that can cook dozens of burgers at one time. The bottom of the steamer heats up and cooks the meat in the steam for about 10 minutes. And at the same time, cheddar cheese will steam in a separate container until it gets nice and gooey. And once the burgers are done, the patties and the cheese go on to rolls and then are topped with lettuce, tomato, and condiments. Because the meat becomes infused with the steam, the result is a juicy burger. People who liked steamed cheeseburgers say it can be healthier because most of the grease is no longer present and you don't have carcinogens from grilling it, but people who aren't really fond of it will say that the burgers can be a bit watery and flavorless. In any event, you can take a trip to Ted's in Meriden, Connecticut, and try one for yourself and see what you think about it. Here's something to try if we get some good snow. Vermont's sugar on snow. Don't worry, you don't have to have actual snow to try this, though that would be really cool if we did. You can replicate this dish at home with maple syrup and ice from your freezer. The practice of sugar on snow reportedly originates from indigenous populations. During maple sugaring season, it was very popular to have sugar on snow parties during the processing of the syrup. Early sugar makers would have ways that they test to see if their boiling sap was ready to be made into syrup. And one of the ways was to drizzle it on snow and let it cool into a sort of taffy, which they would call sugar on snow. Pickles and buttermilk donuts often will accompany the sugar on snow to balance out the sweetness of the maple. So if you want to replicate this at home but you don't have access to clean snow, just add some ice to your blender, get it nice and chopped up like shaved ice, and then drizzle hot maple syrup on top for a tasty treat. And don't forget the pickles and donuts. Up after the break, some more New England foods to discover if you are not familiar already. You're listening to Notable New England. One of the best and easiest ways to support Notable New England is by spreading the word. If you enjoy our stories, consider giving the podcast a 5-star review wherever you listen. Reviews are incredibly powerful, and they help people discover the rich tales of our region and to join our growing community. Even better, tell a friend or a family member about Notable New England. Sharing with just one person can make a huge difference. It's like inviting someone to uncover the hidden gems and inspiring people of New England. Thank you for your support. It means the world. Together we can keep these stories alive and thriving. Welcome back to Notable New England. So Johnny cakes are a Rhode Island specialty, and they are a sort of thin fried flatbread made from cornmeal, boiling water, and salt. That's sort of the original recipe. And they were a bit of a precursor to what we think of as the modern day pancake. Nowadays, many people will make them more of a pancake style by adding eggs, butter, and baking soda. There is much confusion on where the term Johnny cake originated. Many historians think that they were originally called Shawnee cakes by the Pawtuxet Indians, but English settlers mispronounced it as Johnny cakes. Others say that the Johnny cake name came from Jennikin, the American Indian word for corn cake. And there is also the story that they were called journey cakes because they were easily transportable and wouldn't go bad. So they were a great thing for being on the road, as it were, maybe traveling a very far distance in your covered wagon. Some areas of Rhode Island are known for more thin and crispy types of Johnny cakes, and then there are other parts of Rhode Island where a thick, doughier version is, served. And, different people are going to have different thoughts on, what a proper Johnny cake is. There are pretty strong opinions about that. Some people do believe that the original white cap flint corn is the only option for the beloved dish. Others, cornmeal will be used and that sort of thing. The white cap flint corn is apparently native to the Narragansett people in Rhode Island. Now, this dish I know is well known to New Englanders, especially each March 17th for St. Patrick's Day. I'm talking about New England boiled dinner, or corned beef and cabbage. The dish goes back as far as the 1600s, some historians have noted. Apparently, this was even a staple in the home of former President John Adams. When Irish immigrants came to the U.S., they found the price of corned beef was much less expensive than ham or bacon, so they would substitute the ham or bacon with corned beef. Corned beef gets its name from the corns of rock salt that the meat is brined in. Typically, the New England boiled dinner consists of corned beef brisket, cabbage, potatoes, carrots, onions, and turnips. Now, boiling meat and veggies is not, unique to New England, of course. Many cultures have used this method to stretch meat and vegetables for multiple meals as a money saver. In New England, it's common to turn the leftovers into corned beef hash or something called red flannel hash, which includes beets as part of the ingredients. We all know that the chocolate chip cookie's birthplace is Massachusetts, but there's another cookie that was made famous here, the Fig Newton. It started to be mass-produced in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1891 at the Kennedy Biscuit Company, and it was named after the town of Newton. The Kennedy Biscuit Company had a habit of naming its goods after cities in the state, and they chose Newton for this cookie. The recipe was sold to the Kennedy Biscuit Company by a Philadelphia cookie maker, Charles M. Roser. He came up with this idea to stuff fig paste into a pastry dough using a machine that was invented by James Henry Mitchell that could make a hollow pastry crust and then fill it with fruit preserves. The inside funnel would supply the jam, while the outside funnel would pump out the dough. This would produce a long length of filled cookie, which then you could cut into smaller pieces. Roser's inspiration likely came from another treat called a fig roll, which British immigrants introduced. Up until the 19th century, it was believed most illnesses were related to digestion problems, and as a remedy, they recommended a daily intake of biscuits and fruit. Fig rolls served as an ideal thing to heed that advice. And the Fig Newton is actually really not a cookie per se. It's more fruit and cake. Nowadays, Newtons are made with a variety of fruit fillings. And if you didn't know, January 16th was National Fig Newton Day. If you missed out like I did, it's okay because you can go and buy those Fig Newtons anywhere you want. They're at every single grocery store I can think of, and you can just buy a nice package and enjoy some with a nice hot cup of coffee or tea. It is quite a lovely treat. Thank you for tuning into this edition of Notable New England. I hope you learned something new from our exploration into some of the lesser talked about food specialties from New England. Please be sure to see the show notes for sources I used for research. And there is certainly no shortage of New England delicacies, as we all know, so we may just have to do another episode down the line delving into more of them. I'll be back on February 2nd with a brand new episode of Notable New England. I'll be talking about New England slang, the funny sayings and words we use here in New England that others in the country might scratch their heads in confusion thinking, "What did you just say? What the heck is a packy? You want me to bang a Yui, huh?" I hope I'll see you again on February 2nd. Until then, take care.